There's a thief in your life, my brothers and sisters, one that doesn't steal your money, but your blessings, it takes away your peace, your opportunities, your happiness, and leaves you wondering why nothing seems to work out. You might think it's bad luck or a test or even someone's envy, but often it's something much simpler, a small habit that we've allowed into our lives, one that quietly blocks the rizq Allah intended for us. And the moment you recognize it, everything begins to change. My brothers and sisters, many of us hear the word rizq and immediately think of money. We think of our salary, our income, our business, our savings, the car we drive, or the house we live in. But the reality is that rizq is far, far more than that. Rizq is everything that benefits you in this life, everything that sustains you, brings you peace, and carries you through each day. It is not limited to material wealth. It is the food that nourishes your body, the breath that keeps you alive, the health that allows you to move, the sleep that gives you rest, and even the time that you are given on this earth. Rizq is the friend who comforts you when you're down, the family that stands by your side, the opportunity that comes your way at just the right moment. It's the random act of kindness you receive from a stranger. It's that one piece of advice that changes your life for the better. All of that is part of your rizq, your provision that was written for you long before you were even born. You see, rizq is not measured by how much you have, but by how much benefit and contentment you find in what you have. A person can be earning thousands every month, yet live in constant stress and anxiety. They can eat the most expensive food, yet have no appetite. They can sleep in the softest bed, yet never find rest. And then you'll find someone else, perhaps with little income, living in a small home, eating simple food, but their heart is at peace. They smile more, they sleep better, they're content. That is rizq. Rizq is not just about the number of blessings, it's about the barakah, the blessing within the blessing. When there's barakah in your rizq, a small amount feels like plenty. You stretch your money and it somehow covers all your needs. You eat a simple meal and it fills your stomach and your heart. You spend time with loved ones and it feels meaningful and fulfilling. But when there's no barakah, even abundance feels empty. You can have more, yet it never seems enough. My brothers and sisters, every single one of us has a unique rizq written by Allah. You cannot take someone else's rizq and no one can take yours. Even if the entire world tried to stop what Allah has written for you, they could never prevent it. And if Allah has decreed something is not meant for you, no matter how hard you chase it, it will slip through your hands. So instead of worrying about what others have, focus on what you've been given and how you use it. That's where true peace begins. Sometimes Allah withholds certain forms of rizq, not because He wants to deprive you, but because He wants to protect you. You may not see it now, but what you thought was a loss could actually be mercy. You might have been denied a job, a relationship, or an opportunity, not because Allah wanted to block your rizq, but because He wanted to redirect it. Perhaps that job would have destroyed your peace. Perhaps that relationship would have pulled you away from Him. Perhaps that wealth would have made you arrogant or ungrateful. Allah knows what we don't. And when He takes something away, He replaces it with something better, sometimes in a form we don't expect. Maybe you lose a deal, but He gives you time with your family. Maybe you lose money, but He grants you peace of mind. Maybe you lose status, but He gives you humility and faith. These are all forms of rizq, and they often go unnoticed because we're too busy counting numbers and not counting blessings. There's a beautiful way to understand this. When you wake up in the morning, your rizq for that day has already been written. The food you'll eat, the people you'll meet, the words you'll speak, the breaths you'll take, all of it has been allocated for you. Nothing you do will make you get more or less than what Allah has decreed. But what can change is the barakah within it, the blessing and benefit. And that barakah is directly tied to your relationship with Allah. If your connection with Allah is strong, you'll notice your rizq feels different. You'll have peace even in uncertainty. You'll feel content even when things are tight. Your heart will whisper, Alhamdulillah, even when your hands are empty. But when that connection weakens, your life feels heavier. You can have more, but it feels like less. You can eat, but you don't taste satisfaction. You can own things, but you feel owned by them. That's when rizq feels blocked, not because Allah has stopped providing, but because we've stopped recognizing His provision. My brothers and sisters, take a moment to reflect on the small things you often overlook. The fact that your heart beats without your command, that your lungs fill with air automatically, that you can open your eyes, stand up, walk and think, these are all incredible gifts. We scroll through our phones and see people with luxurious lives, but we forget that the greatest wealth is often invisible. The ability to sleep peacefully, to smile genuinely, to pray sincerely, that's rizq. Think about how many people have lost their health, their peace, or their loved ones. If you have these, you already have wealth beyond measure. But because we live in a world that glorifies possessions, we forget the quiet blessings that matter most. Rizq is not about having everything, it's about having enough to live, to give and to thank Allah. Sometimes when our rizq slows down, it's a gentle message from Allah telling us to pause, reflect and return to Him. Maybe He wants us to cleanse our hearts of greed, arrogance or ingratitude. Maybe He wants us to realize that peace doesn't come from what we earn, but from who provides it. The more we recognize Him as the source, the more our rizq flows naturally in whatever form He chooses. So the next time you feel your rizq has stopped, don't just look at your wallet or your bank balance, look at your heart. Ask yourself, have I been grateful? Have I remembered Allah in my ease and in my hardship? Have I shared what I have even when I had little? Because sometimes your rizq doesn't increase through effort, it increases through gratitude, sincerity and generosity. My dear brothers and sisters, never measure your rizq by someone else's standard. What's meant for you will find you, and what leaves you was never yours to keep. True rizq is peace, contentment and closeness to Allah. If you have those, then you are among the richest of people. When rizq stops, it's not always a punishment. It can be a sign to return to gratitude, to renew your faith and to realign your heart with your purpose. Because the moment you see everything as coming from Allah, even the smallest thing becomes enough. And that truly is the greatest rizq of all. The truth is, many of us don't realize how one small habit, something so ordinary, can have such a powerful effect on our lives. Sometimes it's not the big sins that close the doors of rizq, but the little things we do every single day without thinking. You see, Allah is constantly sending blessings our way in every moment, in every opportunity, in every sunrise. But when we fill our hearts with negativity, complaints and constant dissatisfaction, we begin to block that flow ourselves. We become the ones standing between our own rizq and the mercy of Allah. The habit that does this is ingratitude, the failure to recognize and thank Allah for what we already have. It starts quietly in our thoughts, in our words, in our attitude. We wake up in the morning and the first thing we do is complain. I'm tired, I have too much work, my life is hard, nothing ever goes right for me. And we don't realize that these are not just words, they are reflections of our state of heart. Ingratitude is not always loud. It doesn't always sound like defiance. Sometimes it hides behind subtle frustration, constant comparison, or quiet unhappiness. It's when we focus more on what's missing than on what's present. It's when we look at others and think, why do they have it easier? Instead of saying, Alhamdulillah, I have enough. When this habit becomes part of us, our entire outlook on life changes. We begin to feel as though we are victims of our circumstances. We stop noticing the good that's already around us. We scroll through our phones and see others' highlight reels. And instead of being inspired, we feel deprived. That's how ingratitude begins to eat away at our barakah, slowly, quietly, until one day we look around and realize we've lost the feeling of peace. My brothers and sisters, Allah does not take away blessings without reason. Often He takes them away to remind us of their value. Because the heart that doesn't appreciate what it has will never be satisfied no matter how much it gets. You can double your income and still feel poor. You can upgrade your house and still feel restless. You can travel the world and still feel empty inside. That's what happens when gratitude disappears. Allah has told us clearly, when you are grateful, He will give you more. Not just more wealth, more peace, more satisfaction, more happiness, more stability. But when we turn away, when we let complaint replace contentment, the blessings begin to slip away and we don't even notice it happening. Gratitude is not just about saying thank you. It's a mindset, a lifestyle, a way of seeing the world. It means looking at your difficulties and still recognizing that Allah has given you more good than harm. It means thanking Him for what's working instead of only focusing on what's broken. It means realizing that even the things you don't like might be protecting you from something worse. When gratitude lives in your heart, you see blessings everywhere. You stop rushing, you stop comparing, you begin to feel lighter, calmer, more at peace. Gratitude doesn't change your situation overnight, but it changes your energy, your perspective, and your relationship with Allah. And when that changes, everything else follows. But when ingratitude becomes a habit, it clouds your life like dust on the mirror. You stop reflecting light. You stop seeing goodness. You start to believe that happiness is something waiting for you in the future. When I get that job, when I buy that house, when I reach that goal. But in reality, happiness was already available right here in the blessings you overlooked. Think about this, my brothers and sisters. How often do we complain about things that are actually signs of abundance? We say, I'm tired of work, but that means we have a job. We say, I'm sick of cooking, but that means we have food. We say, my children are noisy, but that means we have family. We say, I need a break from everything, but that means we have responsibilities, a purpose, and people who need us. When you start to reframe your complaints into gratitude, your world transforms. The same life suddenly feels different. You don't have to change your income or your situation, just your lens. That's the secret of rizq. Because rizq is not just what Allah gives you, it's how you see what He gives you. If you want to invite barakah into your life, begin by thanking Allah in the small things. When you wake up, thank Him for another day. When you eat, thank Him for every bite. When you face a challenge, thank Him for the chance to grow. Gratitude unlocks doors that effort alone cannot open. And remember, gratitude doesn't mean pretending life is perfect. It means acknowledging that even in imperfection, there's mercy. It means believing that even when things are tough, Allah's wisdom is still at work. Gratitude doesn't blind you to hardship. It gives you the strength to face it without losing hope. My brothers and sisters, this is how the habit of ingratitude stops our rizq. Not because Allah stops giving, but because we stop seeing. We lose awareness of His generosity and our hearts close off from the very source of blessings. The more we complain, the more we repel the good that was meant for us. The more we thank, the more goodness flows into our lives. So if you feel that your rizq has slowed down, if you feel stuck, start with your words. Replace every complaint with gratitude. Instead of saying, I have nothing, say, I have enough. Instead of thinking, why me? Say, Alhamdulillah for what is. Instead of focusing on what's missing, start appreciating what's present. Because the moment you do that, the energy in your life changes. You will feel peace where there was pressure, hope where there was worry, and clarity where there was confusion. That's how Allah rewards a heart that thanks Him not only with more rizq, but with the kind of contentment that money can never buy. The truth is, gratitude is not just a good habit, it's a spiritual magnet for blessings. And ingratitude is not just a bad habit, it's a silent barrier between you and your rizq. So today, make a choice. Choose to see the blessings, not the burdens. Choose to thank, not to complain. Choose to focus on what you have, not on what you don't. Because the more you thank, the more Allah will give. And that's a promise that never fails. One of the most beautiful things you can ever experience in life is the peace that comes from gratitude. Gratitude softens your heart, opens your eyes, and connects you to Allah in a way that transforms everything around you. It turns what you have into enough, and it turns your daily life into an act of worship. Imagine beginning your day with a heart full of appreciation instead of complaints. Imagine waking up and saying, Alhamdulillah, I can see, I can breathe, I can move, I have another chance to do good today. Just that one moment of reflection can change the energy of your entire day. It brings calmness into your heart and draws the mercy of Allah closer to you. You see, gratitude is not only about words. It's not limited to saying thank you or Alhamdulillah. It's a state of mind, a way of living, a lens through which you see the world. A grateful person recognizes that every single thing in their life, big or small, easy or hard, is part of Allah's plan and mercy. Even when life feels difficult, a grateful heart says, there's wisdom in this. There's a reason behind this. Allah knows and I trust Him. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring your struggles. It doesn't mean pretending that everything is fine when it isn't. It simply means choosing to look for the light even when it's dark. It means saying, yes, this is hard, but Allah has still given me more good than harm. Yes, I'm struggling, but I still have blessings others are praying for. And when that attitude becomes your daily habit, something remarkable happens. The doors of rizq begin to open. You'll start to notice opportunities you never saw before. You'll find peace in moments where you used to panic. Your heart will feel light even if your circumstances haven't changed. Because Allah increases the blessings of those who thank Him not just in wealth, but in serenity, health, relationships, and happiness. There are people, my brothers and sisters, who have little money but live like kings in their hearts. Their homes may be small, but they are filled with warmth. Their meals may be simple, but they're eaten with joy. Their lives may be modest, but their hearts overflow with gratitude. And then there are those who have everything, yet feel empty, restless, and dissatisfied. They keep chasing more, but never find peace. The difference between the two is not wealth, it's gratitude. When you're grateful, you don't need a lot to feel rich. But when you're ungrateful, even abundance feels like nothing. You can live in a mansion and still feel trapped, or in a humble home and feel free. Gratitude changes how you experience life because it shifts your focus from what's missing to what's already there. If you want to truly experience barakah, that divine blessing that multiplies, goodness, fill your heart with gratitude. Thank Allah in the morning when you open your eyes. Thank Him when you eat, when you work, when you meet people, when you rest, even when you struggle. Because every moment you live is a gift, and every gift deserves acknowledgement. And remember this, gratitude is not only for good times. It's easy to thank Allah when life is comfortable, but the real test of faith is being grateful when things are tough. When you can still say Alhamdulillah through your tears, that's when you've truly understood what it means to trust Allah. That's when He lifts you higher and fills your life with light. Let me tell you something beautiful. Gratitude doesn't just change your life externally, it transforms you internally. It purifies your heart from jealousy, envy, and resentment. It protects you from comparing yourself to others. It keeps you grounded and humble because you recognize that everything you have is from Allah, not from your own effort. Gratitude is freedom, freedom from the endless cycle of wanting more and never being satisfied. So if you find yourself constantly worrying about rizq, about money, about the future, start with one simple habit: thank Allah sincerely every day. You'll notice that your perspective shifts, your worries lighten, and your rizq begins to flow more easily. Gratitude invites barakah, and barakah is what makes small things feel abundant and difficult times feel bearable. Think about it. When you complain, you focus on what's wrong and your heart becomes heavier. But when you thank, you focus on what's right and your heart becomes lighter. You can't complain and be grateful at the same time. One will always silence the other. So choose gratitude. It's the key that unlocks peace, happiness and rizq. My brothers and sisters, when you thank Allah, you're not just acknowledging the gift, you're acknowledging the giver. And Allah loves a grateful heart. He increases blessings for those who appreciate them. Sometimes the increase comes in material form, and sometimes it comes as tranquility, patience, or contentment, all of which are priceless. So make gratitude part of your daily worship. Thank Allah when you wake up, when you pray, when you eat, and when you face challenges. Even if life isn't perfect, remember that perfection was never the goal, connection was. Gratitude connects your heart to Allah in a way that nothing else can. The Prophet taught us that whoever is grateful to people has truly thanked Allah. So express your gratitude not only to your Creator but also to those around you, your parents, your spouse, your friends, even those who've shown you kindness in small ways. Gratitude spreads light wherever it goes. It softens hearts and brings people closer. If you want to see change in your life, start with this simple shift. Replace complaint with thanks. Replace frustration with reflection. Replace I wish I had with Alhamdulillah for what I have. When you live like that, you'll see how Allah fills your life with unexpected blessings. Not because you asked for more, but because you appreciated what was already there. My brothers and sisters, the habit of gratitude doesn't just open the doors of rizq, it opens the doors of peace, joy and divine connection. The more you thank, the more you receive, and even before new blessings arrive, you begin to feel rich within yourself. That's the power of gratitude. It's not only about gaining more, it's about realizing how much you've already been given. So today, start small. Before you sleep, reflect on 3 things you're grateful for. Before you complain, pause and find one thing to appreciate. Before you envy someone, remember the blessings you have that they might not. Gratitude doesn't require wealth or success, it requires awareness. And when you live with that awareness, your entire life becomes an act of worship. Because at the end of the day, true rizq is not what's in your hand, it's what's in your heart. And the heart that's filled with gratitude will never be poor. One of the most dangerous habits that quietly blocks our rizq is something most people never even realize they are guilty of. It's the habit of comparing yourself to others. It's the hidden form of ingratitude that creeps into your heart and steals your peace without you noticing. You see, not every act of ingratitude is spoken aloud. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it hides behind envy, discontent, and the constant feeling that your life isn't enough. Think about it. How often do we look at someone else's life and feel a sting of jealousy or frustration? We see someone's success, their wealth, their family, their beauty, or their comfort, and something inside us whispers, why not me? That whisper, my brothers and sisters, is the beginning of a storm. It may seem harmless, but it slowly poisons your heart. You stop seeing what Allah has given you because you're too busy counting what He gave someone else. When that happens, your gratitude fades. Your peace disappears. Your blessings start to lose their sweetness. And before long, you start to live in a constant state of dissatisfaction. No matter how much you achieve, no matter how much you own, it never feels like enough. That is the silent theft of barakah. Allah has written a unique rizq for every single one of us. Your provision, your opportunities, your path, all are tailor-made for your journey. You cannot live someone else's story and they cannot live yours. When you compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20, you not only insult your own blessings, but you also question Allah's wisdom in what He chose for you. And that's where the heart begins to darken, not because Allah stopped giving, but because we stopped appreciating. My brothers and sisters, comparison is one of the greatest traps of our time. We live in a world where people only show the best version of themselves, the perfect pictures, the happy moments, the edited smiles. You scroll through your phone and start believing that everyone else has it all together while you're still struggling. But what you don't see is the pain, the stress, the loneliness, and the hardship that hides behind those pictures. Every person you envy is carrying a test you know nothing about. When you compare your life to someone else's, you don't just hurt yourself, you block your own rizq. You fill your heart with resentment instead of gratitude. And resentment pushes away barakah. A heart that constantly looks at others can never feel the sweetness of what it already has. And that's how people lose their joy while chasing someone else's story. If you truly want to open the doors of rizq, you must first close the doors of comparison. You must remind yourself that Allah gives differently to each of His servants, not because He loves one more than the other, but because He knows what's best for each soul. For some, wealth would destroy their humility. For others, hardship would bring them closer to Allah. Some are tested with abundance and others with restriction. But both are opportunities for growth if met with gratitude and patience. Imagine two people. One is wealthy but restless. The other has little but sleeps peacefully. Who is richer in reality? The one whose heart is at peace. Because rizq is not the number of possessions you hold, it's the contentment that fills your heart. You can't buy that kind of peace. You can only receive it when your heart surrenders to Allah's plan. When you see someone doing better than you, don't let jealousy take root. Instead, say, Alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed them and He will bless me too in my own way. When you hear someone's success story, make dua for them and then focus on your own lane. Your rizq will never come faster by envying someone else's. It comes faster when you're grateful for your own. Jealousy and comparison are like weeds that grow in the garden of your heart. If you don't pull them out, they'll choke the flowers of gratitude. Every time you look at someone else's life, ask yourself, what has Allah already given me that I